Welcome back to the channel. So I just got back in Tok. I was over in Wasilla. I had some business to take care of. Let's see what they got done. Looks to me like we got a little more of the foundation wall or the stem wall up, and a bunch of equipment here to pour concrete. Looks like the center is done. So they got the footer in the center formed up, and cool. I want to talk to you about the costs associated with what we're doing, how we're going off grid. There's been quite a few costs, and there's been a lot of costs that have gone over our budget, or at least the semi-budget that we had. We kind of went into this thing winging it, not exactly knowing what it was going to cost, and so some things went overboard, some things cost a lot more. I guess it was a little sweat on our brow. Whew. Let me set you down somewhere and we're going to talk. I want to talk a little bit here. Everybody wants to go off grid nowadays, it seems like. It's been interesting, all the questions I've gotten and all the different people that are itching to go off grid. All right, let's talk about off grid. First off, what do you guys think off-grid is? And what's the definition of off-grid to you? Because I am not going off-grid. And I'll be honest. I'll be straight honest. Me and my wife are not going off-grid because we thought it's romanticized the idea of going off-grid. We picked the piece of property that we liked, and it just so happened to be cost prohibitive, pretty much just too expensive to bring power. So we ended up going off-grid. And when we're done with this thing, I have no intentions of making life hard on myself. I'm not out here trying to build a rustic log cabin in the middle of Alaska, out in the middle of nowhere off a road system, using a composting toilet, not saying there's anything wrong with that, or, carrying water. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to make my life any harder the older I get. I'm trying to make things easier. But at the same time, I want to simplify aspects of my life. I think Vaughn is in the same boat, although I think she would probably go a little more rustic than I'm willing to do. I mean, I want to be able to sit down and watch a movie on the TV if we feel like it. I want to be able to run a washing machine or a dryer, or I mean, I want to run a microwave, for instance, or if someone comes over and wants to run a coffee maker. I don't want to be limited just because I'm off grid. Like I said, leave in the comments. Let me know what you think off grid is. What's your definition of off-grid? All right, let's talk about this cost. So most people that have even looked into off-grid, because it seems to be a fad now, and I'll tell you what, there's just droves and droves of people asking questions. I'm on some forums and Facebook groups, and they're constantly asking, how do I get off-grid? I don't have any money. I want to do this. I want to live simple. My number one advice to people is this. What are you willing to live without? I mean, you can get off grid and live without a lot of things fairly cheap. It's a matter of what are you willing to live without will determine how to get off grid. There's an aspect of money. I don't care what you talk about. There is an aspect of money. So the costs we had here were cutting the road in. Cutting the road in was about $3,500, somewhere in there. Then we came in and I cut all the trees down. So that was just labor, right? Just cost me a little bit of labor. So then we cut the trees down and I needed somebody to come in. And so we hired someone to come in, pile all the trees. They pushed everything out and they dug this down to get it ready for the well drilling. They dug it down to dirty gravel, and all that costs, it was right about $2,500. And then they came in and drilled the well, and the well was $8,400. And so the well was dug down 141 feet. I can put a link up above if you haven't seen the video on us drilling that well. But so after the well was done, they came in and they dug a big hole, and I had the dirt guy come back, dig a very big hole to bury all the stumps and debris. So $8,400 for the well. Coming and digging that big hole cost me another, about $2,000. And then once they were done burying all that, they came in and dug the foundation hole where we're at here. And if you haven't seen that video, I can put it up above. I'll put an iCard up above. Anyway, so we dug this big hole, and that was another, what was it, $1,000? Yeah, it was just over $1,000 to dig the foundation hole. And then I had them dig the inside of the foundation 2 foot deeper. That was an extra $500. And then, let's see. Now we got the concrete. Now I bought all the materials to do the concrete work myself. In the previous foundation video, I talk about why I'm not doing this myself, or why I didn't get the opportunity to do it myself, but I bought all the materials, okay? So the local guy that I ended up hiring, he's using all my materials that cost me almost $7,800. Plus, he's doing the concrete, all right? So he wanted to do, in order to make money, or in order for him to make enough money to make the job worth it to him, he wanted to do all the forming and the concrete work. So he's getting extra money in labor costs, right? It's costing me $11,000 to have him use my materials, and I talk about that in the previous video. So there's $11,000. So when you add it all up, we're darn near close to $36,000, if not a little over. I'm building it how I feel it should be built. I'm putting the money forward now, as opposed to suffering later or adding on and building it. You can build it on a cheap foundation, stilts and posts in the ground, or there's a million different ways to build a foundation. But in the climate here, I'm taking recommendations from the locals, and I'm balancing that with what I can afford, and we're getting it done. I'm not sure what it's going to cost for a lumber package. I know I got a bid on the truss package, and the trusses are going to cost almost $7,000. So now when you talk, there's all kinds of costs to this off-grid stuff. So now I still have to buy a generator for some kind of power, and I'm going to have to cut some costs somewhere and try to save as much money somewhere as I can. But if I have advice for people, you want to go off-grid, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to cost a lot of money. Not only is it going to cost a lot of money, but how do you get that money? We talked at the beginning of our channel about where me and Vaughn kind of come from. She has a really good job working for the state. I'm really proud of her. She busts her butt. She's always done great work. She's a hard worker. She's so friendly and smiley. People love her. And she works hard for what we have. I did 20 plus years in the Coast Guard, and that was my career I chose. And when I got out of the Coast Guard, I did 2 years of corrections for the state of Alaska. And then we decided it was best if I just didn't work, and I came over here and did this. So not everybody's going to build the way that we're building, and you can do it a heck of a lot cheaper. We chose to do a traditional stick-built home with a solid foundation. We've taken recommendations from the locals and pick and choose kind of where we're at financially and what we can afford. But we live in an extreme climate that gets to negative 60 degrees below zero every winter, or most winters, and it averages negative 40 in the winter. That's a unique climate that requires a certain way to build. And I'm learning as I go, but it costs money. And I'll tell you right now, I get questions over and over again about moving to Alaska, and everybody is saying, oh, I want to go off grid. I want to go off grid. Leave it in the description what you feel off grid is. But so many people come to Alaska and think, oh, I want to go off grid. I want to go off grid. I want to be out in the Alaska bush, no road system. I'm going to buy land. Oh, land's cheap. It just runs the gamut what I've heard. And the thing is my definition of being off grid is simply no utilities. I'm not hooked to the electric grid. I'm not hooked to a gas bill, to a gas company. I'm not hooked to a water company providing my water, or the sewage. Those, to me, that's off grid. I don't believe you have to be off a road system. You don't have to live a rustic lifestyle. Life's hard enough here in Alaska. To make life any harder on yourself just for the fun of it, I guess that's a young man's sport, because I'm looking to do this for my future. I'm looking to grow old here at this home And you got to think about that. Aging in place. I watch a channel called OffGrid with Doug and Stacy. They talk a lot about aging in place, and I think that's key. That's important. You have to build to age in place. And when you make life harder than it needs to be on yourself to live this off-grid or what's expected of this off-grid lifestyle, I just don't think there's staying power with that. The harder you make your life as you age, the more likely you are to move away from that way of living, because you just physically can't in certain instances. Now, trust me, there's some tough cats out there, and I think that some people can do it. Some people can rough it, and I mean rough it as in just you know, the traditional, you know, they call them old sourdoughs, or you know. You look at old Dick Prenicky, who goes out in the middle of nowhere. If you haven't seen Dick Prenicky or anything about him, look it up. An amazing man. I mean, what an amazing thing to do. But not everybody has to do that. That's not what my dream is. That's not what anyone, you know, not everybody's dream is to do that. And I think we label people and label, you know, things and create expectations. Other people create expectations for you. I had a guy ask me, he's like, where's your outhouse? How are you gonna be off grid if you don't have your outhouse? Well, I'm digging a septic. Why do I need an outhouse? I want to be able to have running water and flush. I want to flush a regular toilet. You know, some simple things. So I'm not having an outhouse. Nothing against having an outhouse, but I choose not to have an outhouse. My wife, she used to live in Wrangell, Alaska, off grid with a generator, an outhouse, all that stuff, oil lamps. I mean, that's just, it's been done, right? It's not like, it's not a manly thing to say, oh, I need to do this. If you choose to live like that, so be it. If you're a young person today and you want to go off grid and you don't want to work and you're just sick of working and you just want to go off grid, make life simple, I personally don't agree with it. I personally think put a little work in, put a little effort in, save your money and do it right. But if you choose to, you know, want to go off grid and you want to rough it, more power to you. I want to talk to you about the finances. I want to talk to you about what it's cost us so far to get where we're at. You know, I didn't come into this thing with a budget, or well, I shouldn't say that. I didn't come into this thing, me and my wife, saying, oh yeah, here we have $120,000 and everything needs to get done in that box of money and that amount, that time frame or whatever. We came into this thing saying, hey, we want to live in Tok, Alaska. We love Tok, Alaska. It just feels like home. When you find a place that feels like home, like this does to us, it just makes sense to stay there. So once we decided Tok, Alaska is what we like, we found a piece of land and we just kind of, we're winging it, if you will. We're trying to do this while we're working or while she's working, and to save as much money as we possibly can by doing it a little bit at a time. Now I'm on a little bit of a rush agenda now because Vaughn wants to quit working. I want her to quit working. And so the quicker we can get it, the better. I think this winter, I really don't have anything to do. And wintertime is just one of those down times where there's not a lot to do. So I'm probably gonna get a small job and try to put a little money back in the coffers for next year's build. Vaughn's out there working for the family. There's no reason I can't be out there putting a little extra money in the coffers too. So I don't know, that's kind of the plan. We spent a lot more money than we had anticipated. Let me tell you what we thought. And I think we kind of talked about a budget earlier in another video, but this foundation we were anticipating costing about $10,000. So we almost doubled that. Our well was supposed to cost $4,000. So we over doubled that. We went a little bit over on the land. Clearing the lot, I figured it was gonna be about $5,000. And we were really close to that. And I had no clue what it was gonna cost to dig the foundation hole. So anyways, we set aside enough money to get this done, but we kind of, our slush fund or our safety net, we cut into pretty big time this year. So anyways, that's what it costs. And this is where we're at. We're in the process of getting ready to pour some concrete and have her done. So there's the concrete, or the Portland cement bags are right there. Pile of gravel to mix in. There's the mixer. And this little thing here, if you can see this, they use this. This is a custom made bucket for his skid steer, and he'll use that. It'll be interesting to see what exactly he uses for. And then this here, they'll lift with a crane, and it's kind of a dump thing, and they can reach out with that. And that's exactly, my understanding is that's how they're going to pour inside there, because you can't get a piece of equipment in there, so they're going to reach over and pour it with that. All right, well, enough of me droning on. I wanted to put a video out. I wanted to talk about our finances, just the costs. What's the cost associated with going off grid? And coming, especially to Alaska. So many people ask me, I want to come to Alaska. How do I get, what's it going to cost to go to Alaska? I'll do another video about that. Buying land in Alaska, because I get that all the time. I see people posting up saying they're buying land sight unseen. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But anyways, let me know what your definition is of off-grid. Let's talk about that. That's a discussion. I think now there's just this fad, or I don't know if it's a fad, but there's just this argumentative. I see it on the internet lots. There are people just barking and arguing back and forth about what off-grid is and what off-grid isn't, and people dogging people and just talking down to other people that are, you know, trying to get out there and live a simpler life and trying to do things, trying to better their lives a little bit, simplify their lives, do things more natural. And just because they're not what your idea of off-grid is, doesn't mean it's not theirs, and doesn't mean it's not right. Don't press that on other people saying they're not off-grid, or you're not good enough, or you're not doing it right. Another channel, Keeping It Dutch, I watch. He's been talking about that. What is off-grid, you know? People telling him he's not off-grid. He's in Oklahoma. He bought, you know, I don't know, 36 acres or something like that of off-grid property. And he's going to build an off-grid homestead. Well, if that's his off-grid, he's off-grid. I don't care if he's 5 minutes outside a city. His definition of off-grid is his definition of off-grid. More power to him. Let him do what he wants to do. Don't put labels on it. Anyways, I guess I'm kind of getting on a soapbox. But leave it in the comments. What's your definition of off-grid? Or what do you feel off-grid is? I'd be interested to read those comments. You guys have been fantastic. We appreciate every one of our supporters, every one of our subscribers. What do you like to see? I know a lot of you watch a lot of channels, other channels, a lot of off-grid or a lot of homesteading channels. What do you guys like? What do you think the off-grid experience is about? I think it's about getting as close to nature as you can, being simple, and just living whatever dream it is for you. But the off-grid part of that, for me, is the utilities. Hopefully I'll be around to film the rest of this concrete getting poured. Next week's video, I won't probably be putting a video out because I'm going to be neck deep in the woods hunting moose, and I just won't be able to come out. I'm leaving here in a couple days, and then I'll be gone for almost 10 days moose hunting, and I will be in the middle of nowhere up a river. So cross my fingers I get a moose. If I do, I'll come back and you guys will have a hunting video to watch, and hopefully some other footage, and I will see what we got done here. So we really appreciate you guys. We appreciate all our viewers, all our subscribers. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Leaving in comments and watching the videos. But if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We'll have a lot more content on this build. Hit the notification bell for notifications. We try to put out a video once a week. We generally download or upload on Thursdays or Fridays, but we'd really like to have you on the channel. All right, I think it's enough. I'm gonna get off here. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll see you.